Joining me now is Louisiana Congressman and House Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Congressman, it is great to see you once again. Biden has been a gaffe machine his entire career. The biased press thinks it's kind of adorable, but in my mind, I think it's quite dangerous. Not only could his comments lead to more bloodshed, but the fact that his team has to constantly correct him sends a signal that America's leadership is compromised. Do you believe this is as serious a problem as I do?
Yeah, Chris, this is a major liability. And first of all, President Biden's foreign policy has been a major liability. You go back to Ukraine, the weakness he's shown on the world stage his entire presidency has really given a signal to all of the bad guys around the world, whether it's Putin, look at Xi, they're trying to negotiate with Iran right now to get a nuclear weapon and using Russia to help negotiate. People are looking at this going, you know, America basically has stepped off of the world stage as a global leader of freedom. And President Biden continuing to make these gaffes. They can't send Kamala anywhere. They sent her to Poland. I don't know if he came to mop up the mess and made even more mess. But then they continue to try to walk back statements that he made as the President of the United States. You know, your words have consequences. You go back to the old Secretary Gates comment that Joe Biden has always been wrong on foreign policy. The only problem is that before he wasn't the final decision maker. Today, he is the commander-in-chief. And not only are we suffering in American foreign policy, our friends around the world, Zelensky still hasn't gotten the MiGs, the aid that he's asked for over and over again. Biden needs to step up and help these great, strong people of Ukraine, and he's got to do more and give clarity. Say what you mean, but stop saying what you won't do either, because it is also a sign of weakness when you take things off the table. Let your enemy wonder what you're going to do. We sure saw that under President Trump. You know, you didn't see this kind of aggression by people like Putin, but I mean, it's really hurtful when he says things like this. Nobody knows what he means. Our allies around the world don't even know what he means.
True. And you know what, Congressman, the press couldn't protect him this time because everybody's been paying attention to the war. That because of all of his multiple gaffes and rapid succession and his trip overseas, the 25th Amendment was trending on Twitter over the weekend. Yesterday, your colleague, Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, responded to Biden's call for regime change in Russia, saying that we need a regime change here in the United States. With the potentially catastrophic comments on foreign soil that he made and all the damage Mr. Biden and his regime have done here in the United States in just 15 months, can you blame Americans for looking to staunch the bleeding by looking to getting rid of Joe Biden?
You know, what's unfortunate is that, you know, when you see where the American public is right now, they really have given up any kind of confidence on Joe Biden's ability to lead on the world stage. You know, and Ukraine is one more example. You look at Afghanistan, again, that's really the worst case scenario where people said, you know, I don't think this guy's capable. He's got over 45 years, almost 50 years of experience. It's all been the wrong experience. And so experience failing is not necessarily something that's a positive. And so the problem is now it's costing not just us in America, it's costing our allies around the world. Europe is in a weaker place right now. Ukraine months ago was asking for surface-to-air missiles, Stingers, other things that Biden could have given and chose not to because he was more afraid of offending Putin. I don't think anybody in America wants to worry about offending Putin. They want to help Ukraine. They could have helped Ukraine before bombs started going into buildings and maternity wards, killing pregnant women. I mean, that could have been prevented if they would have gotten the help they needed months ago when Zelensky asked for it. Even today, they still won't get him the help. It's mind-boggling.
Meantime, back here at home, a new Trafalgar poll shows that majority of voters, 59%, want Joe Biden to resign if gas prices hit $8 a gallon. Americans know that gas prices, they were skyrocketing long before Putin started his war. Now we learn that Team Biden is pressuring banks not to lend, Congressman, to energy producers, causing more energy price pain for Americans. If the GOP takes power in the House and potentially in the Senate, what can Republicans do to save Americans from the terrible policies coming out of Joe Biden's White House?
You're going to see us rolling out legislation over the next few months. And frankly, Republicans have been talking for months now about what we can do to lower gas prices. And again, this isn't reinventing the wheel. When we go back to when Joe Biden took the oath of office, gasoline was around $2 a gallon. Today, people would love $4 a gallon. They're paying $6 or $7 in some states because Joe Biden, number one, came in, cut off Keystone and any other, hasn't authorized a new pipeline in America, hasn't authorized a new LNG export terminal in America since he's been president, has put a ban on all new leases for oil and gas. And then you wonder why prices start soaring. They were soaring over 40% before Russia invaded. And then the gas prices go higher. He continues last week, puts out a new rule through his SEC to basically say every company's got to put out their, how many carbon emissions they'll emit, to put out a report on that. If they have vendors, how many vendors have carbon emissions, all of this stuff to push the Green New Deal, which was rejected by his Democrat majority in Congress. And yet he keeps doing these things that are raising gas prices, that are limiting the supply in America and making us more dependent on people like Putin, on all these dictators. He's begging Putin to produce more oil. Putin said no. He called Saudi Arabia. They wouldn't even take his phone call. How embarrassing was that? Then he's begging other dictators. Stop begging dictators and open up American energy. The answer is right beneath our feet. We can produce enough oil to make sure we take care of our needs and help our friends around the world, taking leverage away from Putin and lowering gas prices at the pump. We can do all of that. And if you want to save the planet, we emit less carbon to make the same oil that is being made in Russia or any other place where he's begging them to make oil. He's talking about global warming and carbon emissions. You want to save the planet, make more things in America.
Okay, last question I have. Only got 60 seconds here, Congressman. As of yesterday, NBC, ABC, and CBS have not mentioned Hunter Biden's name in 259 days, according to a study conducted by the Media Research Center. They insisted the Biden family's corruption was all disinformation, and now their silence, well, it's deafening. Do you believe that the Hunter Biden laptop and deserves investigation, and do you think it will point to the Biden White House?
Well, it's a major story. It's going to continue to be a story, but it was something that should have been investigated during the campaign a year and a half ago. When you remember when Twitter shut down the entire page of the entire Twitter account for the New York Post, a newspaper that's over 230 years old because of the Hunter Biden story. They said it was fake. Turned out it was all true. And where does this lead? I don't know, but it needs to be investigated. Look, there are a lot of serious questions like this that people are answering. They're surely angry about higher prices for everything. Joe Biden keeps proposing more tax increases, billions more on oil and gas that will raise your costs. But then when you look at stuff like this, why are they so weak on China? Why won't the Biden administration investigate the origins of COVID? A lot of this ties back to what's in that laptop. I think there's a lot of serious questions. And those questions aren't going to go away.
Don't forget, Congressman, President Trump was on camera, or I'm sorry, President Trump was impeached of what Joe Biden did on camera, saying that he withheld money, $1 billion to Ukraine if a prosecutor wasn't fired. So, I mean, I think there's fertile ground there. Congressman Steve, yeah, he bragged about it. Steve Scalise, sir, it's always a pleasure having you. Get back here soon.